She never thought a simple evening at his apartment could unravel everything she believed about him. A locked safe, a quiet apartment, and one photograph would turn her world upside down. What she found inside wasn't just a secret, it was a truth she wasn't sure she was ready to face.
Hello, my friends. I am Olivia, and this is Olivia's Love Stories. I hope you enjoy this story. I had always considered myself a cautious person. I liked routines, familiar streets, and the predictability of my tiny apartment. The smell of coffee brewing in the morning, the soft hum of the city as it woke up around me. And then there was him, Ethan, my boyfriend of 6 months. To anyone looking in, he seemed quiet, even reserved, but there was a warmth in his smile that always made me forget the world outside.
He had this habit of arranging his books by color rather than author, and he hummed softly to himself when he thought no one was listening. It was endearing. I told myself it was just who he was, a little odd, but gentle and kind. I had a need, something I didn't often admit even to myself. I wanted to believe in people. I wanted to see the good hidden behind walls, behind quiet eyes. Maybe that was why I fell for Ethan so easily. There was something familiar in his silences, something that mirrored my own. I craved safety, trust, a sense that someone was quietly, devotedly watching over me, without expecting the world in return. That evening, I went over to his apartment after work. The city had just turned dusky, the sky bleeding from pink into deep navy, and the streets smelled of rain and asphalt. Ethan was supposed to be at a friend's dinner, but when I arrived, his door was unlocked. That wasn't unusual. We often forgot to lock doors when we felt safe, but something in me hesitated, a small, unreasoning flutter of worry. I shrugged it off. I walked in and was greeted by the faint scent of his cologne, mixed with the lingering aroma of lavender from his diffuser. The apartment was quiet, too quiet, and a pang of unease ran through me. I called out his name, but only silence answered. I shrugged again and decided to make myself comfortable, pouring tea, moving his cushions, tidying up. Then my eyes fell on it, the small, nondescript safe tucked into the corner of his office, almost hidden behind his bookshelf. I had seen it before, but had never asked about it. Ethan never talked about his past much, and I had respected that. But that night, something nudged me forward, a curiosity I couldn't contain. I knelt down, running my fingers over the cold metal, the combination lock clicking softly under my touch. And then, as if on instinct, I turned the dial in a sequence I couldn't quite remember learning, but somehow did, and the safe door creaked open. Inside, everything was ordinary at first. A few envelopes, some old papers, but then my eyes landed on a photograph, and when I pulled it out, my stomach dropped so violently that I nearly fell backward. The photograph was of me as a child, no older than 5, my own wide-eyed face staring back at me with a mixture of innocence and surprise that mirrored the way I felt right now. I froze, my fingers trembling as I held the picture. My mind raced, circling the edges of logic, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. Ethan had this? Why? And how? The air around me seemed to thicken. Every small sound, the hum of the fridge, the distant siren turning into a deafening roar in my ears. And just as I reached for another envelope, my heart skipped a beat, because in that moment, I heard the faintest shuffle behind me and knew he was back. My body froze, every nerve screaming at me to hide the photograph, to pretend I hadn't seen anything. But curiosity and fear anchored me to the spot. The shuffle grew louder, deliberate, and then Ethan stepped into the room. His face was calm, but there was something in his eyes, something I hadn't seen before, an intensity that made my chest tighten.
Olivia,
he said softly, but there was an edge to his voice, a tremor just beneath the surface that made me flinch. What are you doing here? I opened my mouth, but words tangled in my throat. My eyes darted to the photograph in my hands. I didn't, I just, the safe? My voice cracked under the weight of confusion and panic. Ethan's gaze followed mine, and for a moment, the apartment felt impossibly small. He moved toward me slowly, his eyes never leaving mine, and I felt a strange mixture of relief and terror. How could someone I trusted, someone I thought I knew so completely, suddenly feel like a stranger? "Give me that," he said, and his hand hovered just inches from mine. I flinched back instinctively, clutching the photograph as if it were a lifeline. "Olivia, I need you to understand." His voice softened, almost pleading, but the intensity never left his eyes. "I don't understand," I whispered, tears pricking at the corners of my eyes. "Why do you have this? It's me. I was 5 years old. How do you even have a picture of me?" Ethan closed his eyes briefly, as if fighting against something deep within him, then opened them again. "It's complicated," he said. "I can explain everything, but you have to promise me you'll listen first. No interruptions." I swallowed hard, my heart hammering against my ribs. Something in his tone, something urgent, almost desperate, made me nod, though I had no idea what I was agreeing to. He motioned for me to sit on the couch, and I obeyed, trembling. Ethan sat opposite me, hands clasped together, staring at the floor. The silence stretched between us, heavy and suffocating, as if the walls themselves were waiting for his confession. Finally, he looked up, and the weight in his eyes made me feel like the world had narrowed to just the two of us. "Olivia, that photograph," he began, voice low, deliberate. "I've known you longer than you realize." I blinked, a shiver running down my spine. I don't understand." "I've been watching over you," he continued, and my stomach twisted. "Since you were a child. That photo, it's from the day I realized I had to protect you, no matter what. I can't tell you everything yet, not until I know you'll trust me." A chill raced through me. My childhood, my memories, my family, everything felt suddenly fragile, as if the ground beneath me had shifted. "Watching me? What do you mean? Who are you, Ethan?" He took a deep breath, as if summoning strength from somewhere deep inside. "I'm someone who has always been here, in the shadows. I've kept you safe, but now it's time you knew the truth. I didn't just meet you 6 months ago." I felt my knees go weak. 6 months? Or something far longer? My mind spun, and my chest tightened so much it hurt to breathe. I wanted to scream, to run, to demand answers, but fear pinned me to the couch. And then he reached for the photograph. I had to make a split-second decision. Hand it over or hold on and risk everything unraveling. My fingers clenched the edges, my nails digging into the paper, and in that tense, suspended moment, I realized my life as I knew it was about to shatter. Before I could move, Ethan whispered, almost too softly to hear, "You deserve to know who I am, and why I've always been here." The photograph trembled in my hands, my heart pounding like a drum in the silent apartment. And in that instant, I saw it. An envelope beneath the photo, its corners worn, labeled in handwriting I recognized. My name, and a date from long ago. My hands shook as I reached for the envelope, the paper crinkling under my trembling fingers. Ethan's eyes never left mine, watching, waiting as though he could see every thought racing through my head. I pulled it out slowly, almost afraid to open it. The date on the front? It was decades old.
My name, written in a careful hand I recognized instantly. It was my mother's. I tore it open, and inside were letters, photographs, and small notes that I had no memory of ever seeing. My heart raced, each revelation like a thunderclap in the quiet room. One photograph in particular made me gasp. A younger Ethan, standing beside my mother at a hospital, holding a baby that looked impossibly familiar. Me. I looked up at him, my voice barely a whisper. This can't be real. How? Why? What are you saying? Ethan took a deep breath, leaning forward, his hands trembling slightly as he clasped mine. Olivia, I was assigned to protect you from the moment you were born. My family, we've always had a role, a duty. Your family trusted us with your safety when you were just a baby. That photograph, when I first saw you, I knew I had to keep you safe, no matter what. The words hit me like a storm. My entire life, my ordinary, safe life, was suddenly painted over with a hidden narrative I couldn't comprehend. Assigned to protect me? You mean my entire life? I asked, my voice shaking with disbelief. All this time, you've been, what, watching me? Living near me? Yes, he admitted, his eyes glossy with emotion. Not in a creepy way, never that, but I've always been there when danger was near, when I could prevent harm. I stayed in the background. I never interfered unless I had to. And now that you're grown, I had to be honest. I felt the room spin. The thought of all the moments I thought were coincidences, him always knowing when I needed comfort, arriving just at the right time, everything suddenly made terrifying sense. My heart was pounding so fast I thought I might pass out. But the safe? The photograph? Why show me this now? Ethan swallowed hard. Because you're old enough to understand. Because I can't keep secrets from you anymore. I wanted to show you, to let you see that I've never lied to you about my feelings. You mean more to me than anyone has ever meant to me, Olivia. Tears welled up in my eyes, not just from shock, but from the overwhelming weight of revelation. My entire childhood, my trust, my life, it had been guided by someone I barely knew, and yet someone I thought I knew intimately. I wanted to scream, to ask 1,000 questions all at once, but my voice caught in my throat. Ethan leaned closer, his hand covering mine over the photograph. I know this is a lot, and I know it might feel like betrayal, but I promise, everything I've done out of love and protection, always. I felt a sob rising, choking me as the reality of his words pressed down like a weight I couldn't escape. And then, just as I was about to speak, my eyes flicked to the corner of the envelope. Another small note, folded neatly, with a handwriting even older than my mother's. I unfolded it slowly, dread pooling in my stomach. It read, "If you are reading this, the time has come for the truth to be revealed. You are in danger, and only he can protect you. Trust him, but be careful. Everything depends on the next step." My breath caught. Danger? What danger? And why now? My heart raced as Ethan's hand tightened over mine. "Olivia, there's something you need to see," he whispered. Before I could react, he reached under the couch and pulled out a small, leather-bound book. Its cover was worn, edges frayed, and when he opened it, I saw pages filled with names, dates, and places, records, detailed notes, and photographs. And then my eyes fell on one entry that made my blood run cold. It wasn't just a record of protection. Someone or something had been tracking me my entire life. My hands shook as I stared at the book, the weight of what I was seeing pressing down like a physical force. Names, dates, incidents,
everything carefully documented. And there, highlighted in red, were notes about threats, close calls, people who had tried to hurt me over the years. My chest tightened, and I felt the room spinning. All those moments I had dismissed as coincidence, they were warnings. They were real. Ethan closed the book gently, his eyes locking onto mine. Olivia, I've never lied to you about who I am. I've always been here to keep you safe. But there's something more now. Someone knows that I'm here, and they've been waiting for the right time. A cold shiver ran down my spine. Waiting for what? I whispered, my voice barely audible. He took a deep breath. For you. For us. I can't explain everything yet, not fully, but the danger is real, and it's closer than ever. That's why I kept the photograph, why I kept the letters, why I've stayed in the shadows. I needed to be ready to protect you when the moment came. I couldn't move. My mind was racing, a storm of fear, confusion, and an inexplicable sense of awe. All the trust I had built in him over the past 6 months suddenly deepened into something more profound. Not just love, but a bond forged through invisible threads of protection, care, and sacrifice that stretched across years. "But you've been here all along?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Watching over me? Knowing everything?" "Yes," he admitted, his hand brushing mine softly. "Every moment that mattered, every choice that could have endangered you, I've been there. And now that you know, I need you to trust me, not just with the past, but with the future." I took a shaky breath, my fingers curling around his. I didn't understand everything yet. The danger, the reason he had been assigned to me, the depths of his devotion, it was overwhelming. But in that instant, I realized something. I believed him. I trusted him completely, even though my heart was still racing. I don't know what to say," I admitted, tears spilling down my cheeks. "This is too much. But I trust you." Ethan's face softened, relief and emotion mingling in his expression. "That's all I need, Olivia. Just trust me. From here on, everything we do together." He closed the safe carefully, but I couldn't look away from him. The man I thought I knew had been hiding nothing malicious, only a love and devotion so intense it had shaped my life without me realizing it. And now, faced with the truth, I saw him clearly, not just as my boyfriend, but as my protector, my anchor, the silent guardian I had always needed. I took a deep, shaky breath and let myself lean into him. My fear was still there, raw and intense, but so was something stronger, a sense of connection, of shared destiny, of a bond that had existed long before either of us could fully comprehend. And in that moment, as the city hummed quietly outside and the apartment was filled only with the soft rhythm of our hearts, I realized that my life had been leading to this. That photograph, that safe, the letters, the book, it had all been pointing toward this truth, that sometimes love doesn't arrive with fanfare. Sometimes it watches silently, waits patiently, and protects fiercely until the moment is right for it to be seen. I looked at Ethan, my protector, my secret keeper, and whispered, "I'm ready. Show me everything." And as he began to tell me the story of my life as he had known it, the dangers, the people, the sacrifices, I knew that whatever lay ahead, I would face it with him, not just as my boyfriend, not just as my guardian, but as the one who had loved me longer than I could remember. The safe was closed now, but the doors it had opened inside my heart would never close again.